Hey everyone, what's happening out there in the world of Final Cut TV land? Not much happening, is there? It's kind of a little bit of a lull here. Our friend over on the X platform, I Know Buddy, says good morning from Nebraska. How are you doing? I've never been to Nebraska. All the states I've never been to, Nebraska is certainly one of them. Absolutely. So, what's going on? Anything going on in the world of Final Cut Pro, you let me know and we'll chat about it. Otherwise, we'll make this a short episode. It's not for everyone. That's an interesting way. It's not for everyone. That's interesting. I understand that. I live in Maryland, and it's also not for everyone. There's a lot of things going on in Maryland that I just absolutely don't like. Over the years, we've had our share of corrupt governors and mayors of mayors of Baltimore that do bad things. So, Milcor says hello. How we doing? Our friend Alista says good morning from Jamaica. Absolutely. So we're finally getting some nice warm weather. As you can see here in the backyard, everything is green, green, green. We got a lot of rain this week. A lot of rain this week. I think it rained like 3 out of 4 days. So finally, we're getting some warm weather around here. I got to get to catch up on some outdoor activities that I have to deal with. Mostly splitting wood is the biggest one. So, has anybody got any Final Cut Pro news? Let me see what's going on here. What's going on? Make sure we got that going on. Oh, that's interesting. Let me just refresh. You refresh the YouTube channel. It starts with a commercial, of course, with an ad. Yeah, there we go. We are doing fine. We are absolutely doing fine. So I've done a couple of local Facebook videos. I put one up this morning. I put one up during the week of this new tool that I've got from Home Depot for helping me to split logs. Some of the logs I have are pretty big. It's hard to describe them if you've never split logs before. Let me just do one thing here. But recently I found a tool that I got from Home Depot that's really been beneficial. It's been very beneficial. So I think there's a couple of things. Number one, WWDC is coming up, right? That's coming up in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. It's first, second week of June. And traditionally, Final Cut Pro has never been updated at WWDC. Not even once. Last year it was updated on its anniversary of its birthday, which was June the 20th, but it's not at the WWDC event itself. Watched your farmer market video. Looks worthwhile. Should I ever decide to visit that part of the USA? Absolutely. I found that caption generating works on each audio clip independently, so if two clips have overlapping dialogue, you will get overlapping captions conflicting. Yeah, I don't think that the Final Cut Pro team is done with transcribing to captions. It's transcribing audio. Is it transcribed to captions? Is that what it's called? I don't think they're done. I think it's just the beginning, and I'm kind of surprised they haven't gotten any further along with that. Small question about DaVinci Resolve. Do you recommend the free or paid version for a pro? Here's what I recommend. Try the free version. Go through the tutorials. Most of them applies to the free version as well as the studio version. I have the studio version. And if you like and understand the free version, then go ahead and upgrade to the studio version. But I've always seen sale prices for the studio version. Plus you can get it if you buy a camera, you get it for free. In my case, I bought the speed editor and got DaVinci Resolve Studio for free. So $299, this is a few years ago. For $299, I got the speed editor, which I never used, and DaVinci Resolve Studio for free. So after about a year of not using the speed editor, I ended up selling it locally. And I kept DaVinci Resolve Studio. I kept that because I use it all the time. So my recommendation is a free version enough if you use it with an ATEM. It depends on what you're doing. I think to start with the free version, there's no downside in not starting with the free version, and you can always update to the studio version. I mean, there's a lot of there's not a lot, but there's some limitations on the free version, as you can imagine, compared to the studio version. And professionals would use, for the most part, a studio version. But don't pay $299 just for the software, because I think I've seen it on sale at B&H. The software, like for, I don't know, $179 or something at some point. So you can find it on sale if you want. It's for live editing concert recordings. Live editing? You mean you're spitting it out going live? I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I taught Wolf Blitzer's crew one weekend years ago with Final Cut Pro 7, and they could only come in on the weekends because they were working during the week down in D.C., Wolf Blitzer's editors. And they told me they used to spit the Final Cut Pro 7 timeline out live. I wouldn't recommend doing that because I've seen too many quirks and crashes and stuff that would be happening, warnings and stuff. So I wouldn't do that for sure. So I'm not sure. You said it's for editing live concert recordings. You mean just you're not doing it live. You're just editing live concert. Yes, with 6 cameras. Yes, but you're not editing it and it's going live. You're talking about switching. Is that what you're talking about? Switching 6 cameras live and giving the live people a feed? I don't think that's what DaVinci. Well, I guess with the right hardware, that would work with DaVinci because they have all the switchers and things. So is that what you're talking about? I would definitely, if you're doing that, like live to tape. Live to tape, right. You to Milcore, you talking about sending your feed to a live broadcast, switching 6 cameras? Now, Blackmagic has switchers for exactly that reason. So I don't think you need DaVinci Resolve for that. Well, you'd have to try it. If you're doing anything professional, definitely spend the $299 and get the studio version. But just go on YouTube and see what they do, what they recommend. I don't know about the live situation. We used to do live events down at the National Archives. We had a theater down there, held like 300 people, and we used to go to YouTube Live. 3 cameras, I think we had 3 cameras. 3? Yeah, I think so. 3 cameras, but Final Cut's not involved. All you're doing is just switching the cameras through hardware and then sending a single feed out somewhere through a mixer. So you don't need DaVinci Resolve for that. DaVinci Resolve is just for the editing portion and titles and stuff like that. Yeah. If you have the equipment to do the live switching, that all combines it through a mixer to a digital feed. That's how we used to do it. You know, one of the things about going live, and I see this all the time. I just saw an event. DaVinci Resolve, you can have the feed of several live cameras. With the hardware, you can. You got to have the hardware that supports that. So I just saw, here's one of the things. We started streaming live in 2016, I think, at the National Archives. And there's always a concern about when you're going live about the captions and things. Well, what they started doing was putting a picture-in-picture of somebody doing sign language in the live feed. So we had 2 cameras. Person doing sign language in a small picture-in-picture superimposed on the main feed. And I often told them this, and they just somehow it just didn't get across. All people who are hard of hearing do not know sign language. Sign language you have to learn sign language. Sign language is not the same as captions. It's not the same. It does not replace captions. Sign language is for somebody who's in the audience, who's hard of hearing, that requests a sign language interpreter. It does not replace captions. My mother was hard of hearing. She doesn't know sign language. She doesn't know it. But she can read captions, and that helped her. She always had captions on with stuff. For example, with Final Cut, you can't have Final Cut can output the final mix, but you can't interact. You can output the final mix. I'm not sure what you mean, output the final mix. You mean just play it back somehow? Play the timeline back and use that? That's pretty risky. I wouldn't do that at all. The point is you don't need Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve to do a live feed. With DR you can, but I don't use DR for live feeds. I don't do that. To me, DaVinci Resolve is an editor, which is post, after the fact. You don't need DaVinci Resolve if you're mixing 6 cameras. You need hardware that can mix the 6 cameras. And then you can have the 6 cameras go into a mixer, and out of the mixer would be a feed to whatever software you're streaming with. You don't need DaVinci Resolve in there. It doesn't, I'm not sure DaVinci Resolve is an editor. I'm not saying it doesn't do it somehow, but that's not, I mean, I don't know how to live stream out of Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve. I use Ecamm Live for my live feed, live stream. So I'm not sure, I can't answer your question because I don't know. But I wouldn't use DaVinci Resolve for a live feed. I would use hardware and proper streaming software like Ecamm Live. So I got another event happening here in about an hour, so I'm going to stay on for a half hour at the most, and then I'm going to get ready for the other event I have. But I went down to the, let me just play this for you real quick. Let me see here. Oh, here we go. I use OBS for live switching church service, yes. And here's another good point. And unfortunately, American Sign Language is different from British and again from New Zealand Sign Language. So knowing which one of them will not help you if your communication partner knows another one. That's another good point. I guess my point is this. It was always frustrating because I wasn't in charge of that. I was post supervisor at the National Archives. But well, let me stay on one subject. A sign language interpreter, if somebody in the audience requests one, it's really for that individual in the audience that's watching the live event, or the people that are watching the live event in the auditorium or whatever. It does not replace captioning. It does not replace captioning. I think maybe, I don't know, I think at one point I checked a percentage of people who are hard of hearing that know American Sign Language, and it was like 15, 20%. So if you just have American Sign Language or any sign language, you're eliminating 80% of the people who can't enjoy the program because they don't have captions. Captioning is much more universal. Most people can read captions, and I would say the majority of ASL, of people who are hard of hearing, do not learn American Sign Language. So it's not taking the place of captions. It's more for the live people in the live audience. If with the Blackmagic DR output box, you create tracks for each live camera, but that's hardware. An output box is hardware. That's what I'm saying. Finally, Apple Intelligence is available in French with Sequoia 15.5. I'm expecting an update to Final Cut Pro soon to allow caption transcriptions in French. Makes sense. Absolutely. That's one of the things that I've heard from people who are doing captions is the limitation of the available languages, but that's depending on the OS, not on Final Cut. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. NLE is not built with live feed intentions. That's correct. I find that risky. I would not use Final Cut. I would not use anything. I would spit out a file, proof it, watch it, and then feed that live if I wanted to. I would not go directly from Final Cut or from DaVinci Resolve to a live feed. You're asking for trouble. You're going to have a red warning flag come up or an error message come up or it's going to crash on you, and then what's going on with your live feed? Use hardware for that, and then proper streaming software. That's what I would do. Now, if DaVinci Resolve, I don't know how that works. I have no idea. You said a DaVinci Resolve output box. Well, that's hardware. That's hardware. You don't need DaVinci Resolve to stream or switch cameras. You need a hardware switcher. Need a hardware switcher. So yeah, I expect that the Final Cut Pro team, number one is I expect a bug fix at any point, 11.1.1, at any point, might have a feature or two in it. I do expect another feature update, 2 or 3 features between now and November, when we're probably going to see 11.2, Final Cut Pro 11.2, probably, and then Logic 11.3. I just can't keep track of the Final Cut Pro team because they watch this live feed. They don't have any pattern. There's no pattern that they're following for update numbers for Final Cut anymore. They just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. That's what it seems like. I guess they just want to be unpredictable, and that's exactly what they're doing. Coffee or tea? In my case, coffee. Absolutely. Absolutely. But in any case, Milkcore, just go on YouTube and punch in your questions, or go on one of the AI chats or something and ask them the question and see what comes up. I don't know the answer. I would not use DaVinci Resolve for live streaming or Final Cut or any of those. I'm anticipating transcription in Final Cut Pro and more controls to do captioning. Absolutely. Absolutely. They gave us a very rudimentary transcribe to captions. Very, very rudimentary. No options. Now, Lumberjack Systems has a very cool plugin, and our friend Brett FX is working on a CapCut style plugin for Final Cut that you can team up with intelligent assistance plugins and actually do CapCut style titles in Final Cut Pro, built in with two plugins, and neither one of the plugins are that expensive. After the 11.1 update, I have not experienced any bugs, but I am also only using it for simple videos without too many effects or other things that might create bugs in your products. Well, I haven't had any bugs specifically, although there's still something, a plugin or something in Final Cut that has a memory leak. If I leave Final Cut Pro running, like if I leave it running in the background and go do something else, a lot of times I'll come back and the memory is completely wiped out and my Mac is frozen. Now, I don't know if that's Final Cut or a third-party plugin, because in the past, third-party plugins were causing that memory leak. I would like options for paint on captions in Final Cut Pro instead of just splash on. I understand. I don't know. Maybe, Final Cut for iPad, you can do write on captions. You can write with the pen, but I don't know how that translates to live. I think, like you, the next update is not for all right now, but this Apple focuses on the new iOS, iPhone, and M5. So the iPhone will be out in September, the M5 October, November, whatever version they're going to have. And Final Cut, it's anyone's guess. I do expect a bug fix. I have not experienced any bugs specifically with 11.1. I'm really liking 11 and 11.1, I have to tell you. I really like both of them. I've had a couple of issues, but nothing that I can repeat. If I can't repeat the issue, if I can't like do it over every time I do X, Y, and Z and the same thing happens, I really can't. It doesn't really help the Final Cut Pro team if it's not repeatable. They will certainly look into it if you give them a bug report. And do send a bug report in for sure. Absolutely send a bug report in. So I'm still waiting. I haven't heard anything from Future Media Conferences. Last year I heard from them in May about the Creative Summit, but I haven't heard anything yet. So whenever I hear something and I get their permission, I'll let everybody know, of course, that watches this channel. What else? Let me go over there and check on the YouTube feed. Yeah. Things are slow. We got like 40 people watching live. The only bug I'm experiencing is with voice isolation. When it's applied to a compound clip, there's a random clicking sound that occurs at the start of some dialogue. Is that available, Luke, when you export the file or just when you're playing it back? Because I've had things in Final Cut, when I play it back, the timeline, it does weird things, but the exported file does not have it. Let me just pull this up. Here's our backyard. Very, very green right now. Very green. All right, let me, this is the video that I did this morning. Let me see, here we go. That's not it. Here we go. I shot this morning. This is, I shot, if you notice the aspect ratio, I shot this ultra wide with my iPhone. And my Lumix S5 Mark II X, both. Here we are on Main Street, Sykesville, Maryland. Thought I'd stop down here this morning just to check out the farmer's market.
Oh, do you want your paper?
What's it? Pickle promotion? How are you? What's that? Pickle promotion? Okay.
This pickle line over here, it's an actual pickle line for people waiting in line to get pickles. Now, this is the reason that I went down to the farmer's market for the very first time. I kept reading in our local Facebook groups about the pickle line. And the line would be an hour long. It would be an hour long to get pickles, which DC Dills was the name of the company. The line would be an hour long sometimes. Then I said, what's going on? Well, the pickles were phenomenal, as you can imagine. But this was in 2014 when I first started filming the farmer's market down there in Sykesville. And this is the actual line. It's amazing.
All day, you got it. Yes.
I remember years ago when DC Dills was up there and the line was a mile long.
That's what my boss was just telling me.
Yeah.
Hi.
Are you the Be Kind guy?
Are you a fan?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
There's nothing wrong with being kind.
We are kindest vigilantes.
Absolutely. BeKindSign.com. Excellent. Thank you.
Catskill Railway. It's a model railroad club that stored inside this Pullman car from the 1940s, I think it was. And then there's a caboose at the other end that also has trains in it.
So it's really neat that you have model trains inside an actual train car.
Exactly, yeah.
Look who it is.
Hi.
It's Barbara Lipsky.
How are you?
Pretty darn good.
I love rocks and pebbles, and I like to paint.
So it's pebble art's what it is.
Pebble art, yes it is.
No, I'm happy you came. I've been wondering where you've been. This right here is an all-time bestseller, Vanilla Pumpkin Chai. Glad to see you here.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, let me get one for you. All right.
I'm not going to play the entire clip, but I just want to show you. So sometimes I film in ultra wide. I either film in 4K and just put it in an ultra wide timeline, and then I have options of moving it up and down and stretching it. Or when I use my Lumix S5 Mark IIX, I actually film in 6K open gate, which is, I think, a 3:2 aspect ratio, which gives me a lot of leeway in reframing that. But I'd like it. Sometimes it looks good, so that's what I do. So Luke says, I need to re-export the same clip. It's random. Yeah, that sounds like, I don't know what that is. I mean, you have to. I've had, for example, I did was it a speed change I did or something in that film, that one I just showed you. And in the timeline, it does weird, no, it was a transition. In the timeline, it does weird glitchiness on the last couple of frames. But when I go through frame by frame, it's fine. If I render it, it's fine. And if I export it, it's fine. But the playback in the Final Cut Pro timeline is not fine unrendered. So I don't know. I got to keep track of the time. Yeah, I got to keep track of the time because I have a lunch appointment with to take care of some business stuff. Not business, just friendly stuff. And we're going to go meet up here, and I have to leave here about 11:30. So, not much happening in the world of Final Cut. Let me go over here on the X platform and see what's going on over there. But I didn't see much happening over there either. Let's see what we have. We're live over there on X, of course. Let me see who's watching. So we got 16 people watching over there on the X platform. Very, very cool. It consistently gets a lot of views. AI seems to attach to AI now. Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS, tvOS, all the OSs seem dev gets slow because they all want to include AI for the better or worse. Yeah. I mean, AI is good for some things. I think AI is used for voice isolation and some other things, so I like that. I don't want it to edit for me. I enjoy editing. Maybe at the most to do a rough cut. But that's like saying, okay, I want AI to write me a song. No, I'm going to write the song myself. Or say, I want AI to paint a painting for me. No. I want to paint a painting myself. What's your view on Color Finale Pro? I used to have one of those color things. I don't use them anymore. I don't know. I can't answer that one way or the other. In the new version, I would like the 2 AI functions on the DaVinci Resolve Pro, but it cuts the music at the time you editing and the functions mark the tempo of the music. Yeah, that's cool. I saw that. So it's like anything else. AI has its place. I don't want AI to do the creative things for me. And I consider editing creative. I consider playing guitar creative. I don't want AI to play my guitar. I want to play the guitar. Now, AI can help me maybe get a certain sound, but I want to do the guitar playing. I don't want AI to do it. I don't want AI to do my editing, other than a rough cut or to give me some ideas. That's fine. That's all fine. But I want to do the creative aspects. I want to do the creative aspect. So to answer your question, what's your view on Color Finale Pro? I haven't used any color plugin for Final Cut Pro for a while. So years. I used to own one of them, but I haven't bought it for years. Would you like to be able to shorten a music track in Final Cut Pro? Yes. To a specific length and have it end smoothly with a single? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's not creative. That's functional. That's where AI does a good job. Yes. Because when I do that now, if I'm doing a music bed and it's too long for the clip, as a musician, I go in there and listen to sections and I say, okay, I can cut here and I can pull the center section out and then put this back and it'll sound fairly seamless. Without vocals, it's instrumental music I'm talking about. So yes, but that's not creative. That's function. And I do want AI to do that. I missed the start. Do you have a send notification? Was waiting for one. How do you normally find out? How do you normally find out, Daniel? I didn't do an extensive pre-announcement this morning. Usually I post it on Facebook and YouTube. But this morning I just went live. So I'm sorry if that's, I don't know. Does YouTube send you a notification? Put the notification bell on in YouTube and it should send you out a notification that we're going to go live. I don't know what Facebook does. I have no idea. No idea what Facebook does. If you do color grading on Final Cut Pro, Final Color is the best. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I do all my color grading on Final Cut Pro at this point. I like Final Cut Pro. It has a color board, it has the color wheels, and it has the color panel, all three of those. So I use the color panel more than the other ones. I like the color panel a lot. If I wanted to get involved with color, I would use DaVinci Resolve. It's what it's known for. That's what it's famous for, is color. The color portion. That's what a lot of professionals use, is DaVinci Resolve for color. But I'm not that involved with color. Most of my stuff just stays on YouTube and stuff. So I'm not doing any films. And I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do color anyway. I'd say get a professional. I agree with you. AI only needs to help us. Yes. And that's fine. Doing audio cleanup, that's fantastic. Doing a basic rough cut, I don't see how AI would know what you would want. Like cutting a multicam, I don't know. That to me seems like you'd be cleaning up more than it would be just doing it yourself. But audio cleanup, text-based editing, that's all AI. Text to captions and subtitles, that's all AI, I think. That's good. That's, text-based editing. I wish we had that in Final Cut. And I would really be surprised if we don't get it between now and November with Final Cut Pro 11.2. That would surprise me. Final Cut Pro team, that would surprise me if we don't get text-based editing. Everybody else has had it for years, and you're like years behind on that. And one of the things that the team used to say is, well, why do you want that? No, I'm not going to tell you why I want text-based editing. If you know what text-based editing is, you know how beneficial it is. How it's for doing long-form content, an hour, 2 hours form, cutting that down with text-based editing in DaVinci Resolve, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. let's see what's going on here. I'm just looking at something. Let me see if this comes up. Yeah, this is interesting. Our friend Chris Hawking. If you need MetaBurner Pro, Advanced MetaBurner Generator, it's now available. Let me pull this up. On the Mac App Store. It just came up this week. I don't need this. Advanced Metadata Generator for Final Cut Pro from our friend Chris Hawking is now available on the Mac App Store. It used to be, I think it's on sale. I think it's actually on sale because it's just got on the App Store. It used to be on FX Factory only, but now it's available in the Mac App Store, which I like the Mac App Store a lot, personally. Luke says, I did extensive color grading in Resolve this week, but due to a bug in DaVinci, I ended up redoing it in Final Cut using the built-in tools. I love them. I mean, as an amateur colorist, yes, I like them too. But as a professional, if I was a professional colorist, I would learn DaVinci Resolve and probably just be using that. Color Finale has controls close to DaVinci Resolve. You can get a very precise calibration. That's good to know. I don't have anything that's mission critical for color grading. I just do my basic color grading, pull up scopes if I need to and do stuff. And for cinema and short films, there is Dehancer. Can AI help with Final Cut and Logic Pro integration? Because magnetic timeline in Final Cut Pro versus tracks in Logic Pro is, in fact, rolls versus tracks translation. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Rolls versus tracks. I don't know. You can get that one plugin, that DAW, what is it called? Audio Design Desk. They have a plugin that lets you run both Logic and Final Cut timelines simultaneously, but they're not really that compatible because I think Apple's way is you're exporting FCP XML, and the problem is you can go from Final Cut to Logic with an FCP XML, but in my experience, when I looked into it, Logic's version of XML is older than the versions in Final Cut. And Logic, in my experience, unless it's changed, does not care about the video. It only cares about the audio. So you can't go from Final Cut to Logic and then Logic back to Final Cut effectively with XML. You can output stems from Logic. You can output a final mix from Logic. You can do soundscape from Logic and then send that back. But you don't, the XML doesn't work back and forth between Final Cut and Logic. Now, Logic wasn't developed by Apple. Logic was developed by another company, and Apple bought them. So I don't know the technicalities, but I don't have much hope for Final Cut and Logic unless they rebuild Logic or add features to Final Cut. Maybe the mixer that's coming will have some kind of a integration. The Final Cut Pro audio mixer might have better integration with Logic. I don't know. There's the famous Kodak 2383 LUT. Okay. You're talking about color, I guess. Look, I have Final Cut, DaVinci Resolve, the editor, LumaFusion. That's all I need. And then Logic Pro. I really don't need to learn anything else. I'm not going to learn color correcting other than basic stuff. I'm going to concentrate on those four things, and that's more than I need. And I have to, sometimes learn things in Ecamm Live. Yes, the Final Cut Pro and Logic communication is less instinctive than on DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, it's just everything's live. DaVinci Resolve is a genius application. There's no exporting XML and importing XML, which to me seems very clunky and old-fashioned. It's just you switch this tab and you go to the audio page, and you switch back and you go to the video page, and you switch this tab and you go to the color page, and switch this tab and you go to the Fusion page. There's no importing and exporting of anything. It's a multi-app application where all the applications are available. Genius implementation. Boy, if Final Cut ever got something that sophisticated, but I don't think it's going to. Final Cut is Final Cut. DaVinci Resolve is DaVinci Resolve. I don't see them meeting a feature set, having a similar feature set. I just don't see it. Final Cut is not going to compete feature to feature with DaVinci Resolve. So if you want DaVinci Resolve feature set, get DaVinci Resolve. I still find editing in Final Cut most enjoyable, especially with the live skimmer, as good as it is in Final Cut Pro. The magnetic timeline, most of the time. There's sometimes I want to lock the timeline, and of course in Final Cut you can't. I want real sequence markers. Final Cut doesn't have sequence markers. They don't have timeline markers. All they have is clip markers. Markers can only live on a clip in Final Cut Pro. You can't put a marker in the timeline. 1 minute. I want it to stay at 1 minute. Doesn't do that in Final Cut. There's a workaround. I have a video on my YouTube channel. You can find that. For me, the problem with DaVinci Resolve is great, but if you don't do real training, you don't take advantage of the full capacity of the software. Absolutely. DaVinci Resolve is more complex than Final Cut Pro. So if you don't spend time learning the training, you're not going to get everything that DaVinci Resolve has to offer. But that's also the same with Final Cut Pro. If all you do is dabble in YouTube videos and get this little pickup here and that little pickup there, and don't go through an organized training session, there's going to be a lot of holes in your ability to edit in Final Cut Pro. But I find Final Cut Pro the best for editing. Quick editing. That live skimmer is absolutely the best. I love it. Magnetic timeline, about 80% of the time. 20% of the time I disable it because I don't want it to do what I want. I don't want it to be jumping around, clips jumping around and everything going with them. So it depends. It depends on what I'm doing. All righty. There we are. Beautiful summer underway. Oh, look, somebody's in the garden. Getting ready to start let me see if I can get this correct. You can see her right there. She's getting ready to start planting tomatoes. She's already got about half a dozen planted. And she's got the deer fence up. And she's trying to keep that before she does full planting. She'll be doing mostly tomatoes, but she does potatoes and sometimes cucumbers and other flowers and things in there. So that'd be cool. Maybe we'll do a tour. I'll do a tour of the garden once it gets up and running this year. I've never done that before. I'll do a tour. It's very complicated software. I think that very few people can use all the calibration commands, and I'm not talking about Fusion. I understand it is very complicated. I took the Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve editing class 2 weeks ago. So I took that class online. It was online for free. And I learned some stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things in DaVinci Resolve that I really like. I like the fact I can have 2 timelines open at the same time, and I can drag from one to the other, copy and paste from one to the other. I love that. I would use that in Final Cut all the time. There's lots of things. Text-based editing is phenomenal. Their captions, they have like a CapCut kind of caption thing you can do now, but it's not. The problem is with that version on beta 3, it's hard. Something's wrong with when you go back to edit the captions, if you use the CapCut style plugin. It doesn't work properly. You go to edit the caption, it doesn't update or something. I don't know what it's going on. They got to fix that. Final Cut Pro Team. Yes, Final Cut Pro Team. You're saying they're sleeping. No, I'm sure they're working. We just haven't seen the results of that yet. We have not seen the results of their work yet, but listen, November is how many months away? 5 months? Something like that. I mean, they'll probably have something for us at the Creative Summit in November. If they have it, nobody's said they're going to have it yet. I haven't seen no word that there is going to be a Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. I'm presuming that there's going to be a Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Last year's Final Cut Pro Creative Summit was the best one I've ever been to. I've been going to them since 2016. Last year's was absolutely hands down the best Creative Summit I've ever been to. Now, that was back at the Juniper Hotel, which was very, very cool. But I prefer Final Cut, yes, Team. I couldn't imagine paying for a subscription for iPad Final Cut Pro with a lack of updates. Well, the good thing is, I say this all the time, the good thing about the way that Apple does subscriptions is you can cancel them on your phone with a single click. You go to your iCloud account, go to subscriptions, and all your subscriptions are right there, and you can click and turn a subscription off, and you won't get billed at the end of the month. Not like the nightmare that I've heard that Adobe does when you try to cancel a subscription, and they do this. Oh, we're going to charge you $75 for early cancellation fees and all that hogwash that Adobe does with Premiere and stuff. It's a single click on your iPhone to cancel a subscription. So if you aren't satisfied with Final Cut for iPad with the updates, cancel the subscription until the updates come and then go back again. DaVinci Resolve is so complex, you can get a team in which one guy edit, one guy audio, one guy the VFX, one guy do color grading. With Final Cut Pro, it's simple enough for a small team. Yeah, but you don't have an audio mixer in Final Cut Pro. You don't have the sophistication of color correction like you do in DaVinci Resolve. The node-based version of the effects in Resolve, I don't know if that's good or bad compared to Motion. I don't do that much in Motion either. But the editing, I mean, DaVinci Resolve has text-based editing. Final Cut, they've had it for 2 years. Final Cut Pro, it's not there. Everybody's got text-based editing except for Final Cut Pro. It's a really excellent way to do long-form editing. I don't need text-based editing for a 3-minute music video. No, that doesn't do any good. Social media posts? No, not really. Talking about long form, an hour, half hour to an hour, going through and cutting things up. Searching for words, keywords in the text because you get an actual text document. It's excellent. I love that in DaVinci Resolve. But DaVinci Resolve is very complex. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So let's see if the Final Cut Pro team who watches this video, they watch this video, if they get us Final Cut Pro 11.1.1 this week, which is a bug fix, maybe a bug fix with a few extra features thrown in there. They could at any point. I would expect more than just a single bug fix between now and next November. You know, they should be able to give us a few more features in here between now and next November. So we'll have to see how that works out. For you, who is the best YouTuber on Final Cut, and especially the most impartial? You don't think they all say the same thing? So, yeah, sometimes they do. I see when there's a new feature out, there'll be 6 or 7 YouTube tutorials covering the exact same new information. So the people that I go to on YouTube, I go to Final Cut Bro, Dylan John, Ripple Training, Jen Jager. Those are 3, 4 of my favorite people. They always have good content. All of those have good content for Final Cut Pro tutorials. But there's 1 or 2 more. Let me think. I think those are the main ones that I go to. There's somebody else. I forget somebody else that I watch sometimes. But sometimes, yeah, Matthew O'Brien. Yeah, he's another one who does, if it's a tutorial, yes. And yeah, I've heard Brad, I've seen some of Brad West. See, I can't remember. That's like 6. Brad West, Matthew O'Brien, Final Cut Bro, Dylan John, Ripple Training, Jen Jager. Those are the best as far as I'm concerned. But every once in a while, you'll pick up somebody else who's really good. Final Cut Pro Training. Every once in a while, there's people. I mean, I've done videos on Final Cut tutorials. My largest audience Final Cut Pro tutorial has 32,000 views. My largest one, but on average, I don't spend the kind of time these other people do making Final Cut videos for the most part. Sometimes I do, and those are usually the ones that do great view counts. I have one that's got 32,000. I've got lots of Final Cut Pro tutorials in the 20,000 views. I got lots that are 15 or 10,000 views. So over the years, I've been doing them since it came out. Oh, Larry Jordan. You're right. Larry, I always forget about Larry Jordan. He's like outside of the normal echelon of Final Cut Pro tutorials. Larry Jordan does excellent work. He does. He really does. He's been going on for quite a while. All righty. Well, I'm going to have to get out of here in a couple minutes. I have to go to another luncheon today at 12 o'clock. I have to leave here in about a few minutes. Anything else you want to mention? We will be back, hopefully, on Saturday. If you want to know about Saturday Final Cut TV and Coffees, join the Facebook group. Join our Facebook group. Let me see. Where in the heck is that? Here we go. Join the Facebook group. Facebook.com/group/Final Cut TV Radio. I usually announce there first. We discuss things. It's got like 2,200 members, 2,200 members at this point. And I like that. I don't really like 10,000 members for this group. We have another group that's got almost 14,000 members. That's Final Cut Tips and Tricks. So you can discuss things there, ask questions there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I enjoy doing these live streams. When I was a kid, in single digits, I was a ham radio operator. So I used to broadcast locally through the airwaves with Morse code. I've got my ham radio license again. I renewed it. Not renewed it, I got a new one so I can broadcast over the air. But I got a TV studio in my house. I can broadcast to the world. I love that, but it wouldn't make you. I wouldn't like it, and it wouldn't make any sense for me to do it if all you didn't show up and contribute and help make this successful. You are co-producers with me. You reproach them for not making more complex tutorials. It's still for amateurs. I don't agree with that. I think some of their tutorials are at different levels. They're spending their time doing that, making tutorials. Now, sometimes, if I keep seeing the same question over and over and over and over and over again, for example, I kept seeing this. What's that red box in the viewer? How do I get rid of that little red box over there in the viewer? So I made a 2-minute video to show you how to get rid of the red box. That's because they don't learn, but there's room for advanced tutorials, intermediate tutorials, and beginning tutorials. Now, I think the best combination is if a tutorial does all three. It has some beginning things, intermediate things, and advanced things. But they're spending a lot of hours on those. They make it look easy, but I know when I do a tutorial, if I got in my mind, I'm going to do this tutorial, and I plan it out, and I script it, and I record things and multiple takes, edit it, look at the edit it again, do titles, maybe sometimes subtitles, hours and hours and hours for a 5 or 10 minute video. So just be glad they do them at all. That's what I would say. Be glad. Don't forget to subscribe over there on the YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is youtube.com/RichardTaylorTV. That's where you go to subscribe. Ryan Nagel makes autos more complex. Yeah, I've seen there's some complex ones out there. There's some complex ones too. Just search on Final Cut Pro tutorials more complex. That's fine, but everybody doesn't need complex. Some people just need simple solutions. I try to do a single item per tutorial. Keep them short, 2 or 3 minutes, and try to stick to a single point when I do them. I'm going to be doing some more Final Cut tutorials. I also don't want to be out there doing the same tutorial that 5 other people have already done. If they've already done it, that's fine. Now, if they miss something, I'll do one and say, well, people missed this one point or whatever, I'll do one. But for the most part, I try to get subjects that aren't that commonplace. Like when Final Cut Pro 11 came out with the tracking, everybody did tracking. There's dozens of tracking videos on YouTube. Okay, I wouldn't do one of those unless I found something that nobody else covered, or I needed to maybe further in depth on something. Then I would do one. All right, everyone, I'm going to get out of here and get to my next meeting. And if I don't see you this week, if Final Cut Pro 11.1.1 comes out, bug fix or maybe a feature, I'll come back on in the afternoon. If not, I'll very likely see you next Saturday. But I have to go for today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You are absolutely the best audience of any Final Cut Pro live stream. Good lunch. Thank you. Talk to everybody later. Couple more comments here. See you next Saturday. Thanks. Thank you. Thank all the listeners. You're the best. Talk to you later.